JC Mackinac, Christ, do I look tired? Who in the right mind would record a video like this? How you doing, folks? My comrades, my viewers, my kindlings, this is your Uncle Linwood here, who has gotten a lot of sleep recently. I think that one got a gopher. Anyway, some of yous now wanted to know about a particular creature. A particular creature called, wait for it, Lacrimocorpus dissolvens, commonly known as the Squonk. And I suspect now the reason for wanting to know all about the Squonk is because when you do your little search-a-majigs, there ain't no information about the Squonk. All the information we know about a Squonk in every book you will read generally follows this pattern. There is a creature that is very disfigured with warts and moles, loose-fitting skin, very ugly, but the creature is so aware of its ugly appearance that it weeps constantly. And therefore it can be hunted at night by its tear-stained trouts, which glisten in the moonlight. One particular hunter named J.P. Wentling, sometimes in other accounts he's referred to as Mole McSneed or some other name, or just some hunter, successfully tracked the Squonk by using its tear-stained trout and induced it to come into a sack, which he took away. Now, as he was walking along, the sack lightened. It began to get a little lighter, and this perplexed Mr. Wentling. So he looked in it, and you know what he found? Of course you do, because you heard this story 100 times. He found nothing but tears and bubbles. The creature had dissolved into its own tears. Ain't that something? Well, so this actually brings up an interesting point about folklore. Y'all probably should know if you're not aware yet. Things being written down are an exception, not the rule. Most folklore is always lost. It's gone. People talk about it. They'll talk about it for a while. Nobody writes it down. People stop talking about it, and you just don't hear about it anymore. You don't hear about the same stories or the same cows. Now, most information from the Squonk comes from Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods, a 1910 book by William T. Cox. Now, I know this is the case because most other accounts of the Squonk either mention the name J.P. Wentling, or they mention the scientific name of the Squonk, Lacrimocorpus dissolvens, from the Latin words tear body, dissolves. Yeah, you can see, like, lacrima is tear, corpus is body, dissolvens is dissolves. Now, and like I said, that's generally the case. There is one exception, which is Fearsome Critters by Henry H. Tryon. Now, in Fearsome Critters, it does mention the Squonk's webbed feet, a distinctly low mentality, and counterclockwise motion, and it's accustomed to like marshes and watery areas. Now, Tryon's Fearsome Critters was written in 1939, where likely there were still some old-timers around who remember those stories. Because remember, Cox's account was written in 1910, and by that time, he admits that the old-time lumberjack is going extinct. So if they were going extinct by 1910, they were few and very far between in 1939. Now, and Dorson's, that's Richard Dorson's Man and Beast in American Comic Legend, it it faintly mentions the Squonk. It mentions that the Squonk is widely named, but beyond the typical information that I have already relayed, not much is heard about the poor, unfortunate animal. Same with reverse his name. Walker D. Wyman's books, Mythical Creatures of the USA and Canada, and Mythical Creatures of the North Country, which are effectively the same book. Mythical Creatures of the USA and Canada is an update. However, Mythical Creatures of the North Country does come with a complete reprint of Fearsome Creatures of Lumberwoods by William T. Cox. Which, I wish he had done in the other book, too. Because it would be more... It's a good reprinting and it would have been more widely available. So you're probably wondering at this point, Linwood, you did a video about a Squonk. You just told us the same stuff we already know. Yes. And no. There is one more thing about the Squonk that is completely a croclapole. A croclapole? Look, don't get hung up on it. Anyway, so there is one account that mentions that the Squonk is bird-like, and it doesn't just leave behind tears and bubbles, but tears, bubbles, and feathers, or tears and feathers. Now, this comes much later. I don't know if I call it a reliable account, but it's possible that in some of the folklore of the Squonk, since Squonk is an onomatopoeia for bird call, like twetter or squawk or honk or tweet, that some accounts in western Pennsylvania relate the Squonk to a bird, similar to the snipe. But again, who's to say? But let me tell you this. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story here because the information about the Squonk was a little lacking. You know what? I've been doing this whole thing just waving my finger, and y'all didn't remind me I usually have a key with me, a storytelling key. All right, so let's go here. So I'm going to tell you about how I became a folk hero. Yes, Linwood, I was briefly a folk hero for about maybe 3 weeks. 3 weeks tops. Okay, so I was in the Army. I had completed basic training, and after basic training, soldiers go through this thing called AIT. It's where they learn their occupational specialty, mine being a 44 Charlie, what it was known as at the time, a financial management technician. A degree which I will tell you is in no way transferable when you leave the Army, which is something I could have known about. But I digress. So one time, since it's the first time, my first actual, real paying job, I've had, odd jobs before the Army, but they didn't, it's $20 a day type work. This is my first real paying job, so what do you think I buy with my first real paycheck? I'll tell you what I buy. I went to the store, I bought a t-shirt that says Mountain Dew, and a whole bunch of candy, because I am a child. So we were getting a little light, and we knew they had let us loose, but we know we had to go back for the evening's formation, where you stand in front of the building, smile real pretty, and just stand there, listen to whatever the drill sergeant wants to say. And we were running a little late. Well, I knew there was no way that I was going to get to my my room fast enough to where I'm holding all of this candy in the barracks. So this is what I did. I saw a different formation for a different building, for a different unit. And I ran through the formation just grabbing candy going, sugar! And just passing it off to people. Sugar! Sugar! Have some sugar! Sugar, sugar, sugar! Until all the candy was gone and I ran out back to the formation. I only had enough candy where I could hide it in my uniform. Now, the interesting thing about this was I never thought about that night after. And one day, I was standing in line to the dining facility. It's what we get our chow, what we get food at in the evening. Just play wrong. And a guy looks at me, and he looks at me rather perplexingly, he does. He looks at me like, You know, his eyes were the shape my eyes usually always are. But, you know, for another person, that's kind of odd. Like, he was studying me and said, "Are you the sugar man?" I'm like, "Sugar man, what are you talking about?" "Dude, you just went into a formation handing people candy, going sugar, sugar." Then I thought about it. I was like, "I am the sugar man." He said, "Yeah, I know. Like, there was this one person, we thought it was you, but it wasn't you." So, if you want to do an interesting social experiment, if you go and just grab a bunch of candy, run through a group of people in public and just hand it out going sugar, 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 they will talk tell of you as the sugar man, as they did me. Because that is, in hindsight, a very, very odd thing to do. So if you want some folk hero fame, and if I may improve upon this idea, wear some very odd outfit and just start handing out sugar. Do like you're a mutated Randy Savage and just do all sorts of colors and sunglasses. I think that would work. You can put a Waldo hat on it. It really doesn't matter. Just run through any random place, start handing people candy going, "Sugar, sugar, have some sugar, sugar, sugar," really aggressively. And you too will become a folk hero. But here's the point of that very tangent of a story is that after that moment, nobody talks about the sugar man. After I left AIT, the story was dead and gone. And while apparently at the time people were talking about this weird guy who just handed them random bunches of candy, I'm talking about good candy, like Reese's, like hot, like brand name candy. Do not demean the name of the sugar man by handing out stuff you got from, like the dollar store, okay? And after that, the legend was dead. The legend of the sugar man was dead. And so it is with the legend of the Squonk, only what we have written down. Now, there is one last hope for the Squonk. If you really, really want to know, if you really want to take the trouble, J.P. Wentling was an actual person. Yes, he instructed at the Pennsylvania State Forestry School, I think that's what it's called, and the University of Minnesota. So if there's any last words on Squonk, it may be left in some papers or letters that he may have left at those establishments. Now, that could be a dead end, but if you're a good folklorist, you know to look into it. I'll probably be looking into it, and probably am told that that's a dead end. They have no papers that he left behind, but they might. But we will see. And with that, kind folks, I leave you onward to journey to folkloric fame. Delving sugar, or not delving, I'm throwing. Okay, look, I'm ending the video. You've been a good audience. Talk to you later.